Thanks for being here. Thanks for joining me for Psalm 2 of our daily Psalms. So, Psalm 2, this is what it says. Why do the nations rage and the people plot a vain thing? The kings of the earth set themselves and the rulers take counsel together against the Lord and against his anointed, saying, Let us break their bonds in pieces and cast away their cords from us. He who sits in the heavens shall laugh. The Lord shall hold them in derision. Then he shall speak to them in his wrath and distress them in his deep displeasure. Yet I have set my king on my holy hill of Zion. I will declare the decree. The Lord has said to me, You are my son. Today I have begotten you. Ask of me, and I will give you the nations for your inheritance, and the ends of the earth for your possession. You shall break them with a rod of iron. You shall dash them to pieces like a potter's vessel. Now, therefore, be wise, O kings. Be instructed, you judges of the earth. Serve the Lord with fear, and rejoice with trembling. Kiss the Son, lest he be angry, and you perish in the way when his wrath is kindled but a little. Blessed are all those who put their trust in him. Like we talked about with Psalm 1, great introduction to the book of Psalms, great worship song, great for bringing us into the blessing of that relationship with God. And that's directly opposed with Psalm 2. Now, this is something that's cool about Hebrew poetry because it's a little bit different than our songwriting today. Most of our songwriting is built around rhyming and trying to hit like certain cadences and tempos and all of that kind of stuff. With Hebrew poetry, it was mostly about contrasting ideas. So in a way, you would rhyme ideas where you would say a concept and then you would build on that concept, or you would contrast an idea where you would say a concept and then you would bring the opposite to bear. So Psalm 1 and Psalm 2 are kind of like that. First off, it's showing the life of the godly, of the righteous, the life of somebody that has delight in their life and joy and strength and perseverance, and someone that's unshakable and prospers in whatever they do. And then it contrasts that with the people that set themselves in opposition to God. And not just any people, but strong people from a human standpoint. So you've got these kings, the rulers of the earth. They've set themselves together against the Lord and against his anointed. And they're like, how can we do this? How can we break the bonds of the Lord from us and set ourselves free from his rule and his reign and make ourselves to stand apart from God? And as a believer, you can see very clearly that the world and its system is opposed to God. Every chance that it can get, it starts setting up other truths against God, and it starts to degrade, or not degrade, but it starts to oppose the ways of the Lord. If no matter what level society has accepted the truths of God, it's trying to pull those things down. And the problem with that is that it always leads to death and it always leads to destruction. So generations go back and forth between like, yeah, this is a great idea. Let's just have sex with whoever we want to have sex with. And then they're like, wow, actually that really led to the collapse of our society. And we need to be way more conservative with our approach to relationships. And so they kind of swing back and forth and back and forth. They change, right? But the truths of Scripture don't change. Essentially, they're spiritual laws that God has set in place, and they stand. And so all of these kings are like, how can we actually break these spiritual laws? How can we break the Lord's rule and reign over us so that we don't have to abide by these things anymore? And not only, I don't even think that this verse is talking only about human kings and human rulers. I think it's also talking about the principalities and powers in the heavenly places. And this is God's response. He's not sitting like, oh no, what are they going to do? Maybe it's going to be something that's really threatening. He laughs. He holds them in derision. He's like, well, that's nice that you think that you can do this and that you've got all of these great plans, but they're going to come to utter worthlessness, and I've set my king in Zion. So no matter what you do, it's not going to be effective. And in fact, he's going to dash you to pieces like little pieces of pottery. You consider my bondage iron? Well, your strength is clay. And I love that contrast. I just think it's such a good, oh man, if you don't think God is a little bit sarcastic, you're missing some things in scripture. It's such a good counter sarcastic argument where God's just like, there's no way, guys. So the Lord, not afraid, not in distress, they're in distress. He's deeply displeased because here's the thing, is that he sent his son, Jesus, to die for us. So the Lord has anointed Jesus, his king, to be our salvation. And so when we say, God, we're going to break your yoke, what we're really doing is we're saying, God, your rescue plan sucks. And we're going to build our own lifeboat and we're going to try to do this thing without you. But God's like, I've ordained for Christ to save the lost and to redeem this world to myself and from the bondage of sin and death. So God's like, I've set my king up and he is going to succeed and he's going to accomplish the mission and the earth is going to be brought back into its right relationship with me. Not just humanity, but all of creation. So there's a choice. There's this call to wisdom. It says, now therefore, be wise, O kings. Be instructed, you judges of the earth. And that is a cry to every single person. You're intrinsically valuable. God made you, and he created you in his image and likeness, which makes you a small k king over the world. And we're supposed to steward that kingdom well. It's supposed to be something that we cause to flourish, not something that we destroy, which is kind of the one of the big things that humanity struggles with in general. So we're not good stewards of the domain that God has given us. But anyway, it's a call to you. You are a king. Understand that you are so valuable. You are so prized. You are glorious. And outside of Scripture, outside of the Lord's estimation of you, there's no place where you are elevated so highly. So you, king, you, queen, be wise and be instructed and listen. Serve the Lord with fear and rejoice with trembling. So there is an aspect of it where it's be afraid, because it's a terrible thing to fall into the hands of an angry God. There is real judgment, there is real wrath that is coming upon the sons of disobedience, and you should escape it because the way of escape has been given to you. So have that little bit of oh wow, self-preservation type fear where you're ooh, I should be on the right side of God. Because it's, man, guys, it's kind of there's a forest fire coming. It's God's judgment is clearly coming. You can't read the Bible for more than 7 chapters in any direction and come out with a conclusion that the judgment of God is not coming. So the judgment of God is coming. It's the forest fire is coming. So have some self-preservation type fear and serve the Lord. Take the way out, give your life to him, embrace his paths because they're so much better, and you will be blessed because all those who put their trust in him are blessed. They are happy, they are fulfilled. So again, if you're a believer and you're but Samuel, I don't feel blessed, I don't feel happy, I don't feel fulfilled, then I would say very clearly the prescription of Scripture is that there's areas in your life. Now, generally you may trust the Lord, but there's areas in your life that you're not trusting the Lord, and those things are binding up your happiness. So it's time to do some examination. Anyway, hope this was a blessing to you. Comment, do all the great things, and I'll see you in the next of our daily Psalms.